Salute to the trucking community. Today I would like to discuss some details about the trucking industry, the details in numbers, something that most industry professionals prefer not to share or not to discuss at all. So let's go. This is the current picture of the trucking industry in our country. As you can see on the map, the highest number of trucking companies is concentrated in California and Texas. Then we have Georgia and Florida. And this picture tells you the states and their ranking across the whole country. But if you look at this picture, it will help you to realize that there is a total of over 172,000 companies currently running trucking business. Even if California looks so dark by having almost 25,000 companies, and after that comes Texas with almost 17,000 companies, the combined number of trucking companies that operate in Northeast is actually the same. We have almost 19,000 companies, and if you compare with the southeastern part of the country, there are actually even more trucking companies than on the West Coast. What I have learned over the past 10 years working in the trucking industry, and what I'm going to share with you, is really sad. This is how many trucking companies, people just like you, that applied for their trucking authority during the last 30 days. There is a total of 8,447 people. Can you believe that? Of course, it could be hard to believe, because I did mention earlier that we are going to discuss things that most industry professionals prefer not to share. But this is where it all comes from. FMCSA has a database which is called SAFER, and it collects the data about all trucking companies nationwide. And in fact, this information is public. So don't be scared off. You can also check that information on your own. But let's get back to this. There is over 8,000 people that applied for their trucking authorities over the past 30 days. This would logically mean the entire trucking population should grow up to 274,000 in about a year. That sounds terrific, I believe. But let me ask you this. How is it even possible that we only have 172,000 active carrier companies if so many people applied for their trucking authority over the period of past 5 years? Guys, I'm not even mentioning the companies that have been in business for decades, like FedEx, XPO, and JB Hunt, and other players. We should have had over 500,000 companies that started their business within the past 5 years, and we only got 172,000. What happened to all companies that did their business between 1975 and 2014, and it's almost 40 years? In fact, this is the reality I wanted to share with you guys. So you know, over 90,000 companies in the United States are guys just like you. One guy, one truck, one company, all by yourself. And you guys make over half of our country's trucking population. Those of you that run 2 to 5 trucks, another 29%. And you guys run a total of 214,000 trucks. And let's compare it with this. The thinnest layer of trucking companies, which represents less than 1% of the entire trucking population, has a total of 317 trucking companies. And I'm talking about those monster guys. And so you know, just the top 50 of them operate a total of a little over 300,000 trucks. And all 300 companies combined operate a total over 500,000 trucks in our country. So why did I first say that the information I was going to share with you guys would be sad? It's because more than 90% of the guys like you never make it till their second year, and I'm not even talking about going into the third year or growing bigger. Otherwise, how is it possible? And how do you think? What prevents carriers from being successful? So how do you think? What prevents carriers from being successful? What obstacles they have on the way to their growth? And I believe I know the obstacles. Information. I believe that being informed in any business means being armed. Access to information pertaining to the business you are in is very limited. Why? Because this is a very highly competitive industry. Access to insurance. I believe that 90% of the new carrier company owners have no idea how this thing works at all. People do have general idea of what insurance is, but most of the guys have no clue what factors must be considered when choosing the insurance carrier or a policy. Access to freight. Business, in other words. I definitely know that there are some type of guys that applied for the trucking authority by chasing the illusionary freedom and desire to drive wherever and whenever they want. If you are one of this, believe me, this is the beginning of the end for your trucking venture. Development strategies. Do you really believe that your business would grow naturally over time? Especially now after you know how many other guys, just like you, are out there trying to make their living. Do you really have a plan in mind? Even though you may not have time for networking, but so you know, this is your first key to growing a successful business. Open up yourself. Knowledge and experience. No matter how many years you may have spent behind the wheels, but running a trucking company and driving a truck could seem similar to being a chef in the kitchen. You know how to cook it, but whenever else someone else does it, it always seems you could do that better. So in fact, it's totally wrong. Any business has principles. So does trucking too. Guidance and competition. Many of new carriers may fear competition and may not trust somebody's guidance. This is, I believe, the biggest mistakes carriers make that result in their failure. So by joining the Truckers Brotherhood, you do get guidance and you do get no competition whatsoever. The Brotherhood is founded with the core purpose to support its member carriers. The Truckers Brotherhood will give you answers and may provide assistance with different business matters in the trucking industry. This is just a basic list of consulting modules which could continue endlessly. We can help you build an estimate of how much it would cost to start a trucking company and set up all the operations. Business strategy development, choosing the right insurance carrier to avoid potential midterm cancellations that often happens in the trucking industry. Help out with securing all your permits for safe and uninterrupted operations. Choosing the right factoring company is a whole military action type of strategy. All factoring companies have their own tricks and you should be aware of all of them. Building the right dispatch team and a network of steady freight brokers or shippers which may help you to avoid ups and downs. You are in business for business. If you believe otherwise, this could be a bad fit for you, don't you think so? And what's most important, you need to have access to steady cash flow to ensure you have enough money to cover your fuel and highway toll expenses. We can help you get that taken care of too. And if you have a plan to grow, you would need access to trucks and trailers. In other words, capacity is your only key to success. Do you know how to secure your capacity or grow it? The Brotherhood can point you in the right direction. Recruiting new drivers and owner-operators. All those stories you may hear from friends and others talking about leasing onto your operating authority. Do you really know how much money you can make by hiring an owner-operator? You possibly could know that, which is great. But do you have any idea how much of a risk do you take on yourself? That comes with business development and planning. How big do you want to grow? By the way, did you have any experience managing big teams? Because all of those guys that join your team come with a bunch of their own problems that may become part of yours, in addition to whatever headache you may have on your own. Financial matters, claims, disputes. The Brotherhood management team has been through many of that. We are experts in trucking conflict management. In other words, the bigger you grow, the more problems you are going to have in your business. The Brotherhood will be there to help you. Join the Truckers Brotherhood and grow with the Brotherhood. And by the way, as we announced earlier, all members that join the Brotherhood and make their membership payments between June 1st and June 30th will be entered into our lottery program. 25 lucky guys will have their membership fees refunded completely, and they will become Elite Brotherhood members. Our management team will work with those winners on a daily basis, helping them develop their management skills and build a network of successful businessmen that may later join other business projects. The lottery results are to be announced on July 15 of this year. So, welcome to the Brotherhood, guys.